this thing is a spotlight which creates a very hard point of light. Let's have a look at, you just scoot down and kind of show you an example of what I mean. So like this slice of light here, for example, like this slice of light behind the model there, right? But it's got loads of gobos in it as well. So you can put these kind of discs in there, and then that you can project whatever shape you want onto the subject or background, you know. I'll be honest, I've used these for like well over 10 years. I've used like the original Bowen's universal spot attachment, it was called, and then they did a few others for other brands and bits and pieces like that, and then we had spotlights and optical snoots, projection units, a whole host of them. I've probably got, I don't know, 7 or 8 of these around from different periods. And I don't know if anybody's used these before, like these hard lights, these very focused hard lights, because this is not like a snoot or honeycomb or anything like that. This is a very focused beam of light thanks to the lens on the front, and that's what makes these units unique, is the lens that's on the front of these. And what's particularly impressive about this one is how wide this unit, like the light from this goes, right? It spreads it very, very wide, very, very quickly, which is useful. I'll have a look at that in a second. The other thing that's kind of important to bring up is that it's not full S-fit. It's kind of like the G-mount thing at the bottom there, right? Which means that it will only go onto certain Godox lights, namely the ML series here. So, you know, it's limiting with that, and I'll get to that in a second. But let's just cover a couple of the features. One being the fact that it's an EF mount lens, so technically you could mount Canon lenses on it. The other thing is that they have a variety of lenses going from like the 19, 36, and 50 here, and I would say that the 50 is by far and away the widest, and then 36 and 19 is more narrow. Remember, it's not millimeters, it's like the beam angle of the light coming out of it, so it's just not like the normal lens that you may be used to on a camera, right? So yeah, so don't get confused in thinking, oh well, the 19 degree will be the widest. You know, it's the opposite to that. So yeah, I got the widest here, and it gives you a very, very good spread. You can technically use Canon lenses on this, right? But like those lenses are not designed for light to go backwards in them, right? So like the Canon lenses that we buy for the cameras, you know, the light is meant to come into the lens and then into the back of the camera. What we're doing with this unit is sending the light through the lens backwards, as it were. Yeah, so they're not really designed for it, and they tend to be like heavily vignetted and that sort of thing. So I would kind of by all means, if you have Canon lenses, test it out. But yeah, I would definitely get one with the lens that they're designed for, right? One other really nice feature about this is the fact that you can focus the front of it. Right now, I got a picture here of most of the other optical snoots that I've been using and projection units I've been using, which is this kind of, you know, unscrew a knob and then you move the whole like lens barrel backwards and forwards. It's very difficult to be accurate with it because, you know, you tighten it up and then it moves a little bit and that sort of stuff. Whereas this is extremely accurate, this focusing ring on the front, and that means that you can get like the gobos, you know, razor sharp very, very easily. So that's kind of a really nice feature compared to a lot of the other ones. Gobos themselves just comes with like a gel holder and stuff at the front. One thing that was kind of unique about this that I was kind of unsure on to begin with was the gobo holder itself, right? Which is what this is, right? So it's the gobo holder that just goes in and it holds the gobos in there. Now you have to unscrew the center bit, which you heard me doing then, and then you pop the gobo in, and then you have to kind of screw it back up, get it level, and then screw it back up, and then you can put it back in. So there's a couple of interesting caveats with this. Like, yes, it is a bit more time consuming to get the gobo in there. One big benefit is the fact that because this is an encased unit, when it goes into the actual spotlight itself, there's almost no light leak at all, right? So, you know, which we can see here, which is actually surprising. Like some of the units I've used have a lot of light that comes out through the actual gobo hole, and some companies have tried to address it by putting you know, like gates across the top and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that one is an entirely enclosed unit, because normally like the gobo goes in like a sandwich holder type thing, right? You just slot it in. But this is, yeah, a completely encased unit. So that's really good. The other benefit about this that I hadn't really thought about until I started to use it was that the gobos are completely flush to the holder itself. So what that means is that sometimes when you put the gobo in like a sandwich holder like this, right, the gobo sits in there and it's not always perfectly, you know, like flat or in line with the beam of light coming out. So what that means is that sometimes when you go to focus the gobo on the wall, if it's a flat wall and you know you're trying to get this very graphic design, sometimes the top will be in focus and the bottom will be out of focus because the gobo inside the unit is not actually flush in the holder itself. So what this does is this screw mechanism here keeps the gobo extremely flush to the actual holder. Holder doesn't let out any light, and you can also get it like the whole gobo in focus against the wall. So really nice kind of touch there. So one problem with the gobo being in like that is that it's kind of tricky to adjust afterwards, right? You don't want to have to go in there and go, oh, you know, I've screwed it in and I want to turn the gobo a little bit. So it's kind of like, you know, well, it's just screwed it in and that sort of thing. The whole front unit of the holder itself now rotates. So if you want to fine tune the actual gobo in terms of the angle of it, it's very easy to do. So again, like the whole unit is pretty, like, really well made in terms of some of the features and tricks that it's got. So this is just going over some of the tests that I did covering the spread of it. So this is like 2 meters away, and this backdrop that I'm photographing against is 2 meters wide. So you can see that it's giving us 2 meters wide there. These are some of the other optical spots that I have, or projection units, and you can see that it's by far and away like the largest at the same distance, which I was actually pretty surprised at, because I thought I had some wide angle ones already, but yeah, this one is by far and away the widest. You can see, you know, some of these, you know, like the biggest one here is still huge gaps either side there. So the spread of this is crazy, like really impressive, which is really useful if you're shooting in smaller spaces, right? An office or home studio or something like that, and you need to project something big in a small space. This thing is wild for it. Yeah, really cool. Yeah. This is like the next thing I'm kind of looking at here is the vignetting. So these are kind of underexposed a little bit to purposely show the vignetting, or the like how bright it is at the center compared to the edges. Right now, some of these are terrible. Some of these are awful. This one's really good. This one's really clean. You can see that there's, even when I've underexposed it like this, you can see that there's probably about half a stop, maybe a stop of difference between inner and outer. And here are some of the other versions as well. So you can see, you know, some of these are like pretty bad. Yeah. Really dark at the edges compared to the center. So again, like, quality of this is really impressive. Yeah. Hey again, mate. How you doing? Welcome in. Just going over the Godox ML SP. So we're just kind of covering some bits on that. And one other thing to watch for with these spotlights is going to be how much light they actually let through, because some of them can have tons of glass in here, or they can have several diffusion units between like where the actual light goes in and where it hits the lens and that sort of stuff. So it can tend to lose quite a bit of light. Some of the other modifiers as well will have those gaps in the top of where the gobo holder is, and that will let light out as well. So you can actually lose a little bit of light from that. So I'm testing this. So let's see what we've got here. So this is 2 meters away, and we've got the light was at 100% power. Now, for reference, the light that I'm using is 100 watts, right? So this is 100 watt LED, not flash, 100 watt LED. So it's 100% power, so ISO 400, 125th, 2.8.5, right? Now, without the spotlight on, it's ISO 400, 125th, 5.6. So, like, you know, you're kind of losing a stop and a half of light with this unit, which again is actually not too bad. You know, I would say some of them I've used are up there beyond 2 stops. So this is pretty good. Yeah. Obviously, this is very small. weight is pretty weighty, mainly because it's all made of metal. So like you gotta have that trade up, right? You're either gonna have something made of plastic and not weigh anything, or you're gonna have something made of metal that's gonna be very last a long time, but it is gonna be weighty. Yeah. And this is kind of the only issue that I have with the unit, and that's the fact that it will only go on these ML Godox lights. And you think, well, not too bad. Like at the moment, they only like the brightest light that they have is 100 watt, which is this one here. Well, they do 150, but that's in the daylight version. So this is the full RGB one, and that's 100 watts. So, like as phenomenal as this unit is, you can only use it with this ML light. There's a couple of other ML lights at the moment. So unless Godox adds more ML lights to the series, you're kind of stuck with this relatively low power. All that being said, I think that this unit is so good that I would probably say, if somebody was to ask me, I would probably say, look, if you can deal with the power and you're okay with 100 watts and you're okay with some of these settings, I would say that it's actually worth picking up one of these little Godox lights to just to take advantage of how quickly this beam spreads in such a such a small area or short distance, and like how clean the light is from edge to edge as well. So I actually think that it's that good that it's actually worth picking up one of these little RGB heads just to kind of use in conjunction with it. Yeah. But yeah, overall, really good unit. The only downside, like I said, it's got tons of kind of perks and little features that I really like. The gobo being flush to the unit, enables you to get razor sharp focus on the gobos. The whole barrel rotates, so you can fine tune either like the slots that you have in there. You can kind of rotate them around, as well as the gobos themselves. The unit is tiny. Yes, it does weigh a little bit, but the unit is tiny, and most importantly, it has a very clean, crisp lens that throws a very wide image in a short area. So look, final thoughts. I think this is really good if you can stomach the fact that you're going to have to buy one of the ML lights and you can deal with 100 watts at the end of it. So yeah, let's just have a look. Actually, I don't actually remember the price of them. So the unit itself is what, £190. This is UK pounds. And then if you wanted to pick up the light on the back, so £180 for the 100 watt full color. Yeah, full color. Yeah, I was just using it with battery as well. But yeah, so for what, $350 or something like that, you can have both units. If you're into that sort of lighting, I personally think it's worth it. But yeah, each to their own. Yeah. Any questions on that, or something that I haven't covered, or something that you wanted to know, then let me know and I can certainly try and answer them. But yeah, give it a look.